Some of the siding on while we were away there. Went ahead and finished the trusses. As you can see, it's starting to look like a machine shed now. One of the parts I left for here was cutting some pieces around the doors, and then I also wanted just to show you on the back truss. So to cut these pieces, I simply lay the piece upside down in the groove, make a little mark with my pencil how wide the piece needs to be. With my straight edge, align that with the groove and very lightly bring your X-Acto knife down it a couple times and it'll come loose. I went ahead and measured both sides here. The piece left over, you can just discard. You do not need, and in this setup you won't need it at all. As we glue this piece, try to make sure we get a little piece underneath of there. One thing I forgot to mention here is all the siding is the same height. So because we've installed this track across here, this piece of siding is going to be a little bit too long. So we'll simply lay it up there, mark the bottom of it, do the same thing with the other side. Once again, take our straight edge, X-Acto knife, a couple small easy scores across it, and it'll come loose. Piece will now lay right into place. And any of the siding, if you're ever a little bit long with it after you've cut it, you can always come back and trim it, and I will show you how to do that in just a minute. In fact, let's go ahead and flip this piece over. You can see barely that I'm just a little bit long, and for this I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit more of the accelerator just to hold it in place quicker. With this, let's see if we can use an extra little block of wood here. We can lay that right on a block of wood. Take your X-Acto knife and just follow right along the bottom. So a nice trim, or a nice cut there. Set that back to the side. We'll do the same thing with the other piece. Lay it into place. Mark it across the bottom. Make sure you add a little bit of glue right along the bottom of the track to help hold the piece in place. Follow down each of your boards with just a little thin line. Take a piece and now you can lay it right into place. Looks good. Looks like I didn't make the same mistake twice in a row. Another little trick, instead of sitting here and holding this piece, once you've held it for a second and it starts to tack up, you can flip your building back upside down, put it on a little bit of an edge, and use your building, the weight of your building, or you can set something on top of it. This glue bottle is not really heavy enough, but it helps push all the framework down into the styrene siding. So a couple more pieces that I have left here to put on. And again, we're going to have to measure a little bit and make a couple more cuts. Is above the side track here. So where I position mine gives us right at 1/2 of an inch. So we're going to be able to take our extra long piece here, make the mark, right at 1/2 inch, go down to the other end. Make sure we're lined up properly with the edge and make our mark right at 1/2 inch again. Once again, Just score lightly a couple times with your X-Acto knife and your piece will come off. Take your piece, dry fit it up there. I realized that even though that measured 1/2 inch, that did not quite give us enough room to fit underneath our trusses, the overhang, just a little tiny bit. So once again, flip it back over, lay your straight edge on there. Push your straight edge down tight so that it doesn't move on you. And again, slow, light scores with the X-Acto knife will make the piece cut off. Double check it again. We've got a nice tight fit this time. We'll slide that all the way over. And we will also mark on here where we need to cut the piece because of the length. Okay. Throw that piece away. Add the glue and press the piece right back in. Next thing we want to do is measure for this last piece. There are 2 parts we're going to want to measure on this. One is the width. Set your extra to the side, double check your width, make sure you're good. And then the second thing is we are going to want to notch out around this sliding track here. So I make those marks. Double check, I am 3/16. I am 3/16, make my mark there. Dry fit the piece real quick, make sure it lines up. It does. Slide this piece back on with the glue on. Line everything up and hold that in place for a couple of minutes or a few seconds. So while we're on this level, I want to go ahead and show you a few more pieces that the kit comes with. It comes with 1, 2, 3, 4 different lengths of trim. The longest length is a piece that is 3 3/4 inches, and it's made for our outside corners. Got a little piece just coming up here a little bit. We'll add a little bit of glue, put some weight down on that for a minute. So this piece is made to go full length on our outside corners. Add some color to the buildings, or if your building sides are colored, you can leave this piece white. Add some glue to it, slide it into place, and just hold it there for a minute or two until it sets up a little bit. The 2 medium-sized pieces, you have one piece is right at 3 inches, and you'll have another piece that's 3 1/2 inches. The 3-inch piece is made for your single 3-inch tall door. One for both sides of the opening, but you'll be able to take the piece, slide it right onto there, and as you can see, I am slightly off with my length, so I need to trim that up a little bit. But again, as I showed you earlier, you can take this, you can lay the shed over. If you got a spare piece of wood laying around, sometimes nice, go ahead and lay it down. Take your X-Acto knife. All of this stuff cuts very easily. Just push down and that piece of trim is trimmed. So now that lines up. You'll have one of those for here. 2 of the 3.5-inch ones will go here and here. And again, you got the 4 outside corners. So I saved a piece of siding for this last truss that I wanted to show you how that goes on, which is pretty self-explanatory, but go ahead and glue over it. It's 2 pieces per truss, just because with 9-inch trusses, our siding's only 6.5, 7 inches wide, so not quite able to get the whole thing out of one piece. But the most important piece when you're putting these on, or part when you're putting these on, is to go ahead and set it down to the lower piece and make sure your peaks line up. Above and beyond anything else, making sure this peak right here lines up between the truss and the siding. And then there's a small piece that will slide right into this side and fill up the rest of that. So I talked about sliding doors. The sliding doors come completely pre-assembled. All you need to do is paint them if you choose to paint them, or leave them white, or however you want to handle that. They are a very tight fit, but you can slide those in from one end, and as you can see, that piece will now be able to slide back and forth to open and close your door. On the front side, you have a set of them. So there's 2 doors that will slide in the same way. So just like we were doing there, we'll slide those in one at a time. Again, they're a pretty tight fit. At first, they will slowly loosen up a little bit over time. The last part that I want to show you is the roof panels. You get 4 roof panels, obviously, with the kit. Those will go here, here, like so. And then you'll get 20 little pieces of purlins with the kit. So I just took that off, but that was a perfect example, guys, of when you paint your pieces. I like to put them onto a piece of masking tape, painter's tape. That way we can get good paint coverage over the piece, and we're not getting a bunch of paint all over the back. I'd hate to have to try to do these painted in place. I don't know how you would mask everything off enough to be able to do that. So I go ahead and put the purlins on the panel first. This will help hold them straight and true. You can see one here that already has them on. But simply add the glue to the back of it. Put one towards the end. Hold yourself about 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 maybe, probably 1/8 from the edge, just so we don't want that piece of wood being all the way tight to the corner. And again, I'm going to go ahead and use some of the accelerator on the piece here. You would go ahead and add all 5 pieces, 5 pieces per roof panel, and then we're ready to actually mount the roof panels. So I line these up. I put both of them up here at the same time. That allows me to understand where that peak's going to hit, and we want to make sure that we're keeping the inside flush with this inside truss. So with that piece mostly in place, this one's looking pretty good as well. Slide that one up just a touch. We'll take the glue, add the glue to the back of the roof panel. And go ahead and set that in place. And like I said, make sure this edge here, you're keeping the roof lined up with your truss. That allows you to have a little bit of an overhang on the outside of it. Hold that piece in place for a little bit until everything sets up on it. Moved it around a little bit, but it's okay. There we go. We'll let that roof panel sit there, and then go ahead and add the glue to the other one. And take that one up till it touches or comes awful close to touching. Again, make sure you leave your inside piece lined up nicely with your truss. And then the fourth size of trim pieces we talked about earlier, I haven't showed you where it goes yet, is for the top of the roof. So this piece will be cut same width as your roof, same length, same width, whichever way you want to look at it there. Add a little bit of glue to it and set the piece down over the coping, which will help close that off. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the remainder of these steps that I've already showed you, finish up the building, and then I will come back and show you what the finished building looks like. I went ahead and finished putting together the pieces that we were talking about. Now we've got the two sliding doors on the front that will slide to open, slide to close. The one sliding door on the side, which as I put the last piece of trim on, I knocked out of its track there a little bit, but as you can see, it'll slide and open as well. With the roof on, we're open in the middle, and now you have your scaled out 48 foot by 64 foot 1/64 scale machine shed. Thank you.